had a chance to watch the Batman again this month, and anticipation of watching the show The Penguin, which is now airing on Max, starring Colin Farrell as the Penguin. That show takes place right after the events of the Batman and focuses on the Penguin. And I watched one episode of that. I'll just say it right now. I think it's good. I look forward to watching the rest of the series. But that's why I watched this, because I'd seen this when it first came out, but I hadn't really watched it again since then. I watched some deleted scenes from it since then, but I hadn't gone back and actually watched the Batman again. I remember liking it though. And looking back now, so just to give a primer, if you don't have any background on it, the Batman is kind of another relaunching of the Batman franchise, and it does so with essentially a year two storyline. So Batman, when this movie opens, Batman's been around for a little while. He's had some. He's kind of like he's a known quantity to Gotham police and to the people at large. He's a mystery though in terms of his background, but he's known enough that Commissioner Gordon, fairly early on in the movie, actually brings him into a crime scene. So he's definitely somebody who's not year one Batman, who's just some guy nobody knows about dressed as a bat doing stuff. At this point, he's got some cachet with the police enough that, at least either Lieutenant Gordon would stick his neck out to let him into a crime scene. But he's still young, not like anywhere near the kind of invincible or fully grown Batman that Michael Keaton's that set of movies was, or the Christopher Nolan movies. This is a much more green version of Batman. And his foe is the Riddler, and the Riddler's general story in this has to do with he doesn't ever call himself the Riddler. Again, this movie tries to be a little more grounded. I mean, it's about superheroes, but it's trying not to be too silly. So I'm not sure if Catwoman ever calls herself Catwoman. The Penguin never calls himself the Penguin. He is Oswald, I think, Cobb. I think it's Oswald Cobb instead of Cobblepot. So trying to make it a little bit more real, not as silly as even some of the more other recent ones. And same thing for the Riddler. He's much more grounded. If you look in that picture, he's the one over Batman's right shoulder or on the left side. But he has like his leather mask on, almost like he's a Gimp from Pulp Fiction, and got this kind of combat suit on. So it's not a guy who's all polished and whatever. He's just this guy who got the scheme, and Batman's trying to investigate it. And he's interacting with Batman as well as with the police, and setting up this kind of mystery. And what I remembered about the movie that remains true is that the actual story that's being told is a pretty good one. It's complicated. The movie's long. And I forgot how long it was. It's nearly 3 hours long. And I didn't quite realize it does have a complicated plot, but it's still a bit long for the story. But it's got a good, complicated story. I like what they did with the Riddler, the reimagining of the Riddler and why he's the Riddler, and why he does what he does, and his relationship with Batman. I thought that stuff was cool. Robert Pattinson's Batman is good in points, but in other points he seems a bit too emo, a bit too kind of mopey and sad at times, but other times it seems to work just fine. So that's kind of a give and take there. Not a huge fan of Robert Pattinson, but I liked him in Tenet, even though the movie wasn't very good. So, I'm okay with him being Batman. I'm looking for, I think they are going to make another one. It's never clear, goes back and forth, but I'm hoping they make another one. And if they do, I'll be looking forward to watch it. Matt Reeves, I thought, did a very good job with this Batman. It ranks for me among the better Batman movies. Though probably, I'm pretty clearly not the best one, but among the better ones. But yeah, so that's good stuff. Zoe Kravitz is in as Catwoman. She's good. Colin Farrell is so good. I didn't realize it was Colin Farrell until someone told me, or I may have realized late in the movie, but for the most part, I didn't know it was Colin Farrell. So he was really good.
I didn't either. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, in the TV show, you can kind of tell it's Colin Farrell. They lighten the makeup a bit. It looks more like him, and he talks more. You can hear a little bit of Colin Farrell, not axioms, but just the tics that he has as a speaker, and the type of accent he's doing. So he's more recognizable in that for whatever reason. This one, I had no idea. The one person who's kind of out of place for me was, I cannot remember his name. Okay, I'll look here. John Turturro as the mob boss. I don't know. I've seen him in too much stuff. I kind of wish they picked like a fresher face, a new actor, and not use someone's I don't know, John Turturro with them big glasses, it looked kind of silly to me. It took me out of the movie a little bit. Everything else seemed really grounded and stuff, and he took me out of it a little bit. And then sometimes, Robert Pattinson, they had it so that when he wears the mask, he wears stuff around his eyes, and so he's wearing the mask, and he takes it off, and he's there, and it's his face, and it's the stuff, and then it runs because it's makeup, but it looks like he's crying like black tears, and I think that was on purpose, but it looks kind of silly. And that's why I say it's kind of emo Batman a little bit, because he's got like these black stuff running it. And there's one point late in the movie where he's seeing something and realizing something, and he's really upset about it. And you see the thing, it's like, oh, Batman, black crying again. It's just it doesn't quite work. So that was a little issue I had there. But for the most part, it's an excellent movie. It's one of the better Batman movies. Yeah, that's my general thoughts. I wish it was a little bit shorter, but it overall it's worth it. The view once you get through it, but it's a little long. It's a little slow to kind of get going. What was your thought? I'm not sure how long ago you saw it, but what do you remember about it?
I remember liking it. Well, I don't know about Robert Pattinson playing Batman, but and his Bruce Wayne seemed a little bit too tortured. But I kind of like the take on the whole.
That's right.
Yeah, he's just. I'm like, dude, like this, she's a psychiatrist or something. Like, but yeah, because everybody who played Batman, Michael Keaton, what's his name, Christian Bale, I always kind of base him on not only Batman but also Bruce Wayne, and I think that's what George Clooney is about. But if I love him, but I think that's where they kind of failed because he couldn't. Especially George Clooney. I think George Clooney's trying to pick up a paycheck, but sometimes you got.
He's playing George Clooney. Yeah. He was just playing George Clooney.
Yes, it's George Clooney going to a Halloween costume.
Yeah,
costume party. Yeah. But we had to treat them like they're two different entities, and it's just his. I don't know if it was his fault, but I thought his Bruce Wayne was a little over the top of where he was trying to portray him. But
yeah,
it's an interesting take on the whole Batman universe and all the characters, and it's how, like you're saying, how grounded everything was in grounded. For example, like Batmobile was just I forgot what kind of car it was, but it looked like a souped up regular car that he just asked from just it wasn't as gothic as Tim Burton's or that kind of that military machine that Christian Bale was driving.
Yeah, exactly. The Tumbler. Yeah,
just a regular car that he just added some power to it.
But, it's cool, but you don't want to do that again. Yeah. You don't want to see the same thing. You don't want to see another Batman with another Tumbler and super crazy tech. You want to see something that's a little bit different. So
they
exactly. have that to compete with,
Yeah, because whenever you keep doing superhero over and over again, people want to see something different. So, they got to make it different. And I think everything they were doing worked, even though his parents were, the corrupt parents and, the jilted, relays jilted in the past, and making Penguin kind of like a mafia boss. And it was kind of interesting way
that's not that uncommon.
The universe.
The Penguin's usually been involved with the mob. It's just whether or not he's only an outsider or if he starts on the inside and kind of becomes an outsider. But he's generally to me it was more weird when they had the Joker kind of messing with all the gangsters and stuff in Dark Knight. That was a little more of because Joker generally has always been like not their enemy, but been a kind of opposed to the regular mob. Like it's to that initially, even though that kind of turned sideways, that kind of initial stuff where he's courting them and stuff was kind of weird. I thought. Whereas this, I was like, the Penguin's always he's always kind of an organized crime guy. He's just a weird guy that is a little bit outside the whatever of it. And that was the same thing with the Joker in the original 1989 Batman. He's basically a gangster under Jack Palance. And so it's like that. Those were to me, I would think more of a divergence than what they did with the Penguin this time, which for me, from my recollection of the Penguin character, is not that far off from from stuff they've done that I've seen before. Yeah, the one other person I wanted to mention was Jeffrey Wright, the guy, the black actor that plays
Gordon,
I guess it's Lieutenant Gordon. I think it's
Gordon,
Lieutenant.
right.
I can't remember which Gordon he is, but let's say Gordon. You know, the Gordon. And so I thought he was really good. I thought he was a really good. He's one of the other main. He gets a lot of screen time, so it's big that they got that casting right. You know, John Turturro being the mob boss was a huge deal. He only had like 3 scenes, but you know they got Jeffrey Wright wrong. If that didn't really seem to work, then you know that would have been a bigger issue. But that guy, and I think the Riddler actor's name is Paul Dano. I've seen him in other stuff.
That is
actually
forgot his name, but he actually wrote a comic book based on that Riddler.
Oh yeah,
he was on I forgot which talk show he was on, but he talks about it. And I think after the movie, he wrote an origin story about the Riddler, about his version of it.
Huh.
Which I think was really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And yeah, that's right. He played the main character on Dumb Money. I forgot about that. I know I've seen him other stuff. He played the main character, the main actor on Dumb Money.
Yeah, he's done a few things.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that takes care of the Batman. Again, if you haven't seen it, definitely worth watching. And if you're gonna watch the Penguin, which I think is a good series, it looks good. The pilot was very good. The first episode was very good. So this is good to watch first to like kind of get you into that universe because the pilot, the first episode in that show takes place right after the end of this movie. So I like how they linked that and kind of weaved it in, made it kind of causality to it in terms of the Penguins, the show, what's it about and why it started, you know, what kind of that story, how that story kind of gets rolling. Thanks for watching this clip from Only the Real Movie Podcast. Please like and consider subscribing to Low Key Classic Movies, and look out for the next episode of Only the Real Movie Podcast coming at the end of every month. Check out a full podcast or maybe one of these clips or another video from Low Key Classic Movies.